I woke up to a sound. Low, deep, almost guttural. It took me a second to realize what it was. My dog, Max, growling in the darkness. He never growled like that, not unless something was wrong. My heart pounded as I sat up, straining to hear beyond the steady hum of the ceiling fan. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe Max had heard a raccoon outside. Maybe he was just restless. But deep down, I knew better. There was something out there. Sliding out of bed, I moved carefully toward the bedroom door, my bare feet making no sound against the hardwood. Max stayed close, his growl barely above a whisper now, like even he was afraid to be too loud. The living room was dark, the kind of darkness that made the shadows feel thicker, like they were watching. I reached for the lamp but stopped myself. If someone was out there, I didn't want them to see me first. I checked the front door, locked. Good. I turned to the windows, running my fingers along the latch of the first one. Locked. But when I reached the second window, something was wrong. A chill ran down my spine before I even touched it. The air felt different, colder, like something had been let inside. Slowly, I lifted the mini blind, and my breath caught in my throat. The window was wide open, and he was there. A man, crouched just outside, his face hidden beneath a black ski mask. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then, he laughed. Not just any laugh. This was something else. Low, twisted, dripping with something dark and sick. And then he spoke. Party time. Before I could even react, he started climbing through the window. I stumbled back, my mind blank with terror. I have a gun, I screamed, my voice shaking. Max exploded into a frenzy, barking and snapping, the sound cutting through the night like a warning bell. The man hesitated, just for a second. Then he was gone, disappearing into the darkness outside as fast as he had appeared. I don't remember locking the window. I don't remember grabbing my phone or how long it took me to dial. All I remember is standing there, gasping for air, knowing that if I had woken up just a minute later, I wouldn't be standing at all. It was the summer after my parents separated, and my mom had just moved us into a small 2-bedroom apartment. It was nothing special, just a quiet little place on the first floor, tucked away at the back of the complex. Our bedrooms sat at the end of a short hallway, directly across from each other. I had my own bed, my own toys, my own space. But most nights, I slept with my mom. It just felt safer that way. That night was no different. The air was thick and humid, and my mom had cracked the window behind our bed to let in what little breeze she could. The night was still, silent, until I woke up. I didn't know why at first. There was no noise, no nightmare, just an eerie, gnawing feeling deep in my gut, like something was wrong. Then I saw our cat. He was sitting in the hallway, right in the doorway of my mom's room, perfectly still, staring. But he wasn't looking at us. He was looking into my bedroom. His ears were low, his tail twitching in slow, uneasy flicks. Then, after a long, tense moment, he took a few cautious steps into my room and let out a soft, strangled meow, a warning. I felt my skin prickle as I turned to my mom and shook her gently. Mom, wake up. She mumbled something, barely stirring. It only took her a few seconds to blink awake and groggily whisper, "What is it?" And that's when we saw him. A man, standing in the hallway. He wasn't outside. He wasn't peeking in through the window. He was inside our apartment, leaving my bedroom. I remember every detail. The slow way he stepped forward, not hurried, not panicked, like he had all the time in the world. His face was shrouded in shadow, his clothes dark, his movements calculated. My mom froze for half a second. Then, in one motion, she grabbed me, threw me over her shoulder, and lunged for the window. The screen ripped away as I tumbled outside, landing in the dirt. It wasn't far, just a few feet, but the shock of it knocked the air from my lungs. Before I could even sit up, my mom was right behind me. She hit the ground hard, scrambled to her feet, and together, we screamed. We screamed until the lights in the complex flickered on, until someone finally called 911. The police arrived within minutes. They stormed through our apartment, checking every corner, every room. There was nothing. No forced entry, no broken windows, just our front door, unlocked. The officers told my mom that the man must have slipped out while we were climbing through the window. But my mom, she swore she had locked that door, deadbolt, chain lock, everything. She never would have left it open. The police didn't have answers, just a theory that the man had been inside before we ever went to sleep, that he had been waiting, watching. A week later, my mom was cleaning the kitchen when she opened the closet where our water heater was. She stopped. Inside, neatly tucked away, was a small notebook. The pages were filled with names, scribbled drawings, strange, erratic notes that made no sense to us. And next to it, a pair of gloves and an empty gum wrapper. The police came again, took everything, asked more questions. But in the end, what could they do? There was no way to prove how long he had been watching us. No way to know how many nights he had stood in my doorway, just watching me sleep.